question, and that's very important. When the person is in regression, I'm right there, sitting maybe 2 or 3 feet away from the person, and I'm not only hearing what they're saying, but I'm right there to observe their body. So if they're going through something that's causing emotion, positively or negatively, I can see that. I can see it in their face. I can see it in their breathing. I can see it in minor body movements as they're lying there in the regression. And I think that if they were just making it up, they wouldn't, react that way. It wouldn't be in their faces and their body movement. But because it's real, you can see that on the outside as well as hear what they're saying from their inner awareness.
And I'm sure after so many people that you've done this with, you as an instrument get better in terms of detecting.
Oh, yeah.
And discerning what's in front of you.
That's right. Yeah, we do definitely build a body of skills here. And
I would imagine an invisible body of skills. Yeah, like 9/10 of it people don't see when they first meet you, but it's going on in the sessions. Fabulous. Did you ever meet Brian Weiss?
I did meet Brian Weiss. I used to be very active with the Association for Past Life Research and Therapies based in California. And we had conferences once or twice every year, and he came to 2 or 3 of those.
He's a very interesting man. I read Many Lives, Many Masters.
Yes.
Very interesting, and I think he is putting forth the progression therapy, too, now.
Well, he might be. I'm not aware of that, but I do have a close friend and colleague here in Southern California who went to a training with him last spring.
Wow.
She, too, was impressed with what a wonderful man he is. I certainly feel that as well, and is such a huge contributor, really, to society by bringing forth in the medical profession and the psychiatric profession, bringing forth the whole field of regression work, and how wonderful that is for people, how people can resolve all kinds of problems that were not resolved any other way by doing a regression back to the source of that problem.
Have you ever had someone come in, Barbara, and say, I don't know why I'm here. I just want to be happier, healthier. I don't have the joy I used to have, or I'm carrying too much weight, or whatever, stuff that may not be a big deal to you, like the kind of regressions you're doing, but something's not quite right.
Oh, yes.
And they don't know why they're there.
Well, that really happens quite a lot. And so we begin to talk, and slowly, bit by bit, and they're conscious here, it begins to come out certain things that, have really saddened them. Maybe they've had some grief that's not resolved, or maybe they're connected with the wrong kind of person, or they're not getting on with what they feel they ought to be doing in life. I mean, there are all kinds of things that come up, or maybe they're very frustrated. Maybe they're very angry. They have unresolved anger. So there's so many things that can come up. These are just a few examples that are really making their life feel not right and not happy. So once we've sort of, talked about it and unearthed some of these different ingredients of their unhappiness, then we can set about working on that, how to help that person to solve those particular aspects that have been troubling him or her. So very often all of this starts with talking and discussing things. And for me, it's absolutely a fascinating process.
I would imagine it is. Your life is never the same from moment to moment, truly.
Well, it's true. And with each person, and I really say this with enormous respect, it's like a mystery in a way. What's going on with this person and how can I help that which is going on? So it's a very creative process, I think. Years ago, back in the 1970s, when I was in graduate school and became licensed as a a therapist, I was saying to my husband that, I loved this work, but I didn't feel like I was being very creative in the sense that I wasn't being a creative artist or a musician. And he said, "Are you kidding?" He said, "I've seen you do therapy with group therapy, and you are incredibly creative, and this is your art form." And, that really was a wonderful eye-opener for me. And I think that since then, all these years, I've thought, with each person I meet with, it is a wonderful creative process, even, if you can believe this, a joyful process.
I can
Help
believe
somebody out of the depths of not good functioning, or the depths of unhappiness or grief, or caught up in anger or depression or whatever, to help that person help himself or herself and come out of that. That is a joyful process.
How much impact do you sense is impacting people's present existences that is coming from their past life? There's a cosmology that most of our problems, there's this belief that it comes from this place in time, right? This gestalt, this life.
Yes,
okay?
Or childhood is a very popular belief.
Right. But I've seen souls come in. I've seen people come in. Like, I met a 2-year-old about 2 weeks ago. I kid you not. This child came in with something so disturbing, and he breaks things all over the house, almost possessed. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And if you go the traditional route, how could someone be so young? And I'm saying if they weren't abused or something like that, but if that didn't happen, that has to come in from another time and place.
Well, I really agree with you very much, and I think that all of us, every single person in the world, to some extent, and that varies, of course, between people, but to some extent, we do come in with some kinds of influence from previous lifetimes that we've had. Now, in a very positive case, and there are many of these, somebody might come in with a very early interest in a particular talent, let's say early interest in music. And that interest in music and maybe being involved with music in various ways will persist through that person's lifetime. And then probably, not inevitably, but probably that interest in music had been with that person incarnated as another person in at least one previous lifetime. And then now with the case that you're mentioning, this 2-year-old boy, sometimes people come in with real traumas from having died in a traumatic way in a previous lifetime. Or they might come in with a recurrent illness and nobody else in the family seems to have that kind of illness. Or they might come in with a chronic pain in the neck, for instance. This happened with one of my clients. And when we go back in regression to the source of that physical problem or that anger or that pain in the neck or whatever the topic is, the complaint for the person, we usually find we always find, in fact, a scenario in another time, another place, another situation when that person, or I should say that person's soul, was incarnated as a different person in the past. And we see what the trauma was, we see what that condition was, and then when the regression is about to be over, in other words, the person is about to die in that past lifetime, I always suggest that they're aware of what's happening now. How is it that they're dying? Where are they? What's going on? And they tell me, and then I say, okay, just simply move ahead until you've gone through the dying and you're out of your body and you can actually look back and see your body. And everyone I have ever regressed to that sort of thing where they've gone through the dying, they go through it really easily.